Hi. Hi, good morning to all of you. So today we are heading towards the last component of HTML, layout elements and techniques. Here we may not able to cover extensively because there are a lot of things are there. It takes even 1 year, it will not be sufficient to cover this. So that much of importance is there on this. I'll just give a hint. I'll just move on. We'll see some of this as we get into Angular material and other stuffs. We'll see some of this layout side. So practice in this case, you have to take some websites, you have to try to mimic that website and learn which CSS to be used, which one is most optimal for that. That kind of a practice you need to do. It is a offline job to ensure that you understood HTML well. Okay, so the layout elements and techniques deals with, these are all called layout elements. When I say layout elements, this tags are supported by browser. This is not what we have seen it in the beginning. These are all the additional tags. If you really look into the each tag, whether the CSS or no CSS will be there. It will be maybe the CSS says div is equal to display is maybe block or something like that. So it may not have a realistic as such. There is no class defined for all of these layout elements. But you can use this layout elements. You can define your own class, or you can define your own CSS for each of this element, and then try to use that as part of your page designs. So that header is always dealt as a header, navigation is always dealt as navigation, section is always that means you don't change it from one place to another place. If you define a header with h1 status, so all header will have always one heading component and subheading. That is how you want to design your header. You can just make it permanent everywhere, so that that header, whatever the class you define under the header, that is permanent for all the header wherever you use that header as a class. In CSS, I hope you all knows about, there are child tags. You can percolate to the child tags, you can percolate to the all siblings, right? Those areas of CSS are very important. If you have not touched upon, because we've taken only one class, I'm not sure we covered all that. So please try to learn that side as well as an additional learning. Okay, as I said, these are all some of the layout components available. This will not give error. That what it means is it will not give error, it will accept. So anything that you design, you can use any of this and define your CSS and start working on it. So then when we go to the techniques that we follow for this layout technique that we follow, these are all supported by CSS. One is grid layout, flex layout, float layout, frameworks. So in our case, when we are dealing with Angular material or React or anything, we deal with frameworks, CSS framework. The CSS framework of two types. One is like Bootstrap, W3C, CSS itself. Then frameworks, that is FX, Flex Layout, FX Layout we call it as. So see, these are all some of the frameworks that are available, and generally you can just use those frameworks. That is all. You will add it as part of your script tag. Bootstrap, you can add it as a framework tag. I'll just try to push it through 1 second. I'll try to give you the link. I'll try to give you, say, Bootstrap CDM link. So this is the Bootstrap get started. This is the Bootstrap framework. This will work for React.js, Angular. It works for everybody. It works for almost all things. This is the CSS, this is the style sheet you need to add, this is the version number you will add, and min.css, theme.css, all these you can add. So once you do that, there is a documentation involved, how that theme works, how the JS works, etc. You have a documentation available. So you can use it. That means you don't have to specify the theme, everything on your own. So this is how you will generally do that CSS. You add that binding. This is the external CSS. This comes under external CSS. Right? There is another concept called SCSS, that is SCSS. SCSS is another type of CSS where you can even code. Angular Material supports that. Angular Material, most of the themes are supported by SCSS. We'll come to that when we come there. We'll talk about that little later. So all these are available as your additional learnings on the HTML. We covered the basics, but there are a lot available for better UI look and feel with the standards. This is an open community working on this day and night, and they have come up with some standards which will match to most of the users. It will match if you follow this. That means 90% of the user it will match, and most of them as a responsive design as well. It will support both mobile device as well as the your desktop kind of an application with several bit. You don't have to be 14-inch monitor or a 15-inch monitor or wide monitor. You can support any monitor level as well. So these are all some of the layouts available, documents available. Please, you can use that. Okay. Icons, again, the icons are supported. You don't have to develop your own icons. Icons, everything is important for any of the HTML. Since we are covering that as part of Angular Material, we are not touching upon as part of HTML. We cover Angular Material is the one which we will be taking. That is the recent trend that is working. So we'll touch upon that. Any questions as of now? Please let me know before I move on to the actual layout screen that I want to touch upon. I'll create a new page. So these are all some of the headers that is supported. I just kept it in the notepad for my easy reference. So I'll just comment all these lines. So I comment this line. So I just make it as document as an HTML. Doc type as HTML commented on the top. So I just create one sample thing. So HTML is starting tag, HTML is ending tag. As I said earlier, these are all non-mandatory, but as a principle, as a standard coding practice, we all implement with this, right? That is how the coding practice, that is how tomorrow it might become a mandatory case in the tomorrow design. We don't know. Today, it is not mandatory that you have to put all these tags as it is, but it is very good practice that you do. Okay, under body, let me take a header. Header as a tag name, right? As a header as a tag name, if I just put, I have to still put H1 or H2 because if I want to syntax layout. So this header tag, but I can customize, I can give a border for this header. All this I can do as part of the style sheet. That is what it means. So that means wherever you use the header, that will follow that style sheet. Instead of H1, you can use div, but you can define how you want to do that as part of the header class. So that is what we are just trying to say. This is, I call it as H6 subtitle. This H1, H6 are all real tag with a CSS involved. Whereas as a header, you may not see that. So let me just go with navigation bar. what is navigation bar? Generally, navigation bar is designed with so-called A tag, right? Link tag. Basically, it is a link tag. So in this H tag, A tag, you always go with href. So if I want to point to the same web page, it's an ID column, ID 123. If I use, it will go to that, right? Href link. That's a link basically. That's a link. I'll just show you how that link is visible. Going to ID of the HTML. ID 123 of HTML. I have not defined any ID now. So that is what the nav is always used. So this is the general good practices like this. Not everything on the same line. That is not a good practice. You have to indent it properly. So another tag, say A tag href equals ID 124. Okay, and then going to ID 124 of this HTML A tag ends. So you can give this A tag as part of a list, as part of ordered list, unordered list, all this you can do. So you will, if it is a unordered list, you will, right? You can give it like this. If it is on a list item, each one you treat it as a list item, that also you can do. So list item, within that list item, you are making it as a list item. List item, now it will come with the dot on that. So there is a, for list item, there is a, I'll just tell you as I go. So I save this file now. I'll save it to, I think it is D drive, upskill. All files. HTML4 class HTML5. I'll instead of that, I'll just say layout for easy understanding. Layout.html. HTML also you can use, HTML also you can use. Both is recognized as, both are same. There is no change or difference to that. You can use any of the name. So layout, subtitle, then nav link. I have just given a nav link. Up to that, I just saved it. Let me open it. Layout.html. Make sure that is on the same path. Open with browser. You can now see here. So I think I have not closed the tag properly. I remove this for time being. I'll remove this. This is not behaving in a way it is expected to behave. HTML head body header nav UL nav everything is proper. Yeah. Save it. Refresh it. So you can now see layout, subtitle, going to ID. You can see the link. It is automatically come with a blue color link because that is a tag. A tags important. The A tag means with HTML href it will go. This is how the redirection to other page. Everything is done through this tag, right? If you want to redirect to another page, you can give that the another page icon as that. For example, we have a lot of names, right? In the same way, in the same place, we have a lot of icons. So I'll just go to upskill. You have like class 2 HT1, class 3 HT1, HTML1. Let me take this, right? I give that as a href here. right? HTML.html. This is nothing but class2 HTML1.html. Save it. Browse it. Browse it. Click on this. You can see now class2 HTML has come. I hope you have noticed that change, right? It has redirected to that page. But this one will not work because that is going to the same ID 123. So these are all called routers. The one that you see on the top, that is routing. So now this is HT1. It is going to the class2 HTML1.html. So like this redirection can be done. So whether you want to open it on the same page or different page, that is called target. There is a target class. The target class, if you give blank or it's supported by blank, right now it is on the same page, right? So target is on the same page. That means you have to back browser to come back to the previous page. So this is what it is. You will use it as a nav. This is a link. All links can be on this. This nav you want to specifically say one border kind of a thing. For example, I'll just put it like this. Style. Generally, style is done inside the HTML after the header. That is how style is defined. Here, if you say nav as a, I call it as what? I put it one border, background, whether you want to change the color, background color, I call it as say blue. It supports all 65,000 and odd colors. Okay, ash number you can use. Border 1 pixel solid with dark blue, right? It supports name as well as this, and I want to make sure that pixel is also set. Padding, not yeah, padding. Let me put a padding. And also I want to ask you a certain question, like what is the difference between padding and a margin? Which one to use, where to use? I want you to experiment and make sure you are aware of that changes as well. Where to use padding, where to use margin, because both does the same job more or less as per our internal understanding. So I just made that nav with this. Let me just see how it works. Okay, so if I saved it, you can see now, right? There is a border, there is a blue color, there is a thing. I make it as light blue. Light, oh, that is also in blue color. Let's say use gray, gray and dark gray. Gray, GREY also he supports, GRAY also he supports. So he supports that. So light gray, I don't know whether light gray is there or not. Let me check. Save it. Yeah, light gray. So this, yeah, wherever you use nav, whichever page you use now, this syntax is now taken care of. Like that, that is what this major advantage of all these header names that I was telling you. Okay, all this section you can customize in the way you want. That is what it means. Okay, so that is any questions as of now? Let me know. Am I stop sharing? Oh, sorry, I'm just back. I'm sharing back. Any questions you have, please let me know. Why head tag? What use this is? Unfortunately, these are all some standards that we need to follow. So nav is for navigation, header is for header. The way you structure any document that you type, there is a header, there is a body content, there is a footer content. So you can use those head titles or tags accordingly and according to your class CSS modification. You can define the way you want to see the CSS. Okay, perfect. So now we are, I'll just take one grid layout side, how that grid layout is done. Here also I just prepared it and keep it ready for you. So this grid layout is actually, I save as, HTML grid. Okay, this grid layout, I'll copy paste the previous one and this one as well into your for your understanding. I'm pushing it back to our chat. Okay, question and answer. I copied that HTML. Okay. Grid HTML also I'll copy it because we are delayed by a class. So I just wanted to make sure we cover it up because JavaScript and all, it might take more time. So always we are running short of time. So this grid, you can see now the display is what is important for a grid. Grid is one of the type of framework. It is equivalent to your table. So table you use, the table is having a different things where you put the td. Here we use the word, it is purely a class and the grid item. We call it as one div as a grid container, another div as a grid item. This is the two class that we are giving to just showcase how that the number of columns is decided by this auto. So if I just want to have 3 columns, my 12 is there, I'll just remove one. So that means I'm into 3 columns now. Grid template columns, right? I'm into 3 columns. If I want 6 columns, I put it 3 into 6 columns I need to put. That's a, wherever you have a static data, then this is useful. Okay, now I just load this grid HTML. I load this. What I'll do is I'll just map that HTML name, copy, rename, copy, control C, control cancel. I'll come back to my old HTML, the other HTML. Where is that HTML? This HTML, I'll just, instead of 1, 2, 3 now, I'll put this now, layout grid dot HTML. This is grid learning, right? Grid learning, below is class 2 nodes. Class 2 nodes. So like this, I just changed it, save it, so that I don't have to do multiple things. So I can just transfer from one page to other page. Layout HTML, refresh the page, grid learning, click on the grid, you see the grid, right? You see the grid. Now you have seen that 3 columns, it is auto, right? You want to define the space for each column, that also can be done. Again here, grid, grid instead of auto, I want to say 100 pixel. This is 50 pixel. This is 250 pixel. I can define the say size of that grid as well. So left, grid learning, you can see here. So 1, 2, 3, all of different sizes. So auto means it will automatically do the correction for us. That is based on the bit, total bit that we have. Okay, I want to make it as 6 columns. No change anything to the data set. Whereas in table, I need to change the data set. Whereas here, I'm having now 6 columns ready. Back, 6 columns. Auto spaced, everything is taken care. So that is all controlled by the CSS. If you see the data, I want to add some more. So another 6 I just want to add. Because I made it as 6, I want third row. Right, third row with say 11, 12, let it be number, let it be, we don't want to worry about. If I put it, automatically it will come third row. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, one additional column was there, that has come down. Right, this like this you can define in the way you want. So padding 20 pixel, everything is there. I'll just put margin 2 pixel, or for our easy understanding 5 pixel. Let us see what happens. Right? Are able to see the difference? Where padding is internal, margin is outside, external. So the way you want, you can define it. So I made it as 333 background color. You don't want background color as this. You want say light blue. Save it. Background, it is like this. Light blue is not there. There is no word called light blue. But without, almost like without a background color. So sorry, that is because of hash. Okay, it should not have a hash. Okay, so that is light blue. So you can decide the way you want according to your need, according to your things. You can choose the layout that you want to use. It is supported by lot of communities working on all this. You can use that community work for all this. Okay, so this is what I just wanted to cover it as part of HTML. You have other things like flex, etc. We'll cover it as we move on. As we go on, we'll cover some new things so that you are clear on how we can use it. Please note this grid is, again I'll save this, Control C, Control V into our chat. I'll just save that as part of the chat. Full stack development chat. I just saved it as part of the chat. Okay, I hope you see my screen, Rajesh. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Some people say screen is not visible. I just want to make sure. Is everybody's screen visible? Please raise your hand if screen is visible. Okay, please. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay, now we are going to the most important concepts now. That is JavaScripting. We are taking the JavaScripting now. We'll touch upon all the basic needs of JavaScripting. So I have given also in the PowerPoint, I've added some of the codes as well. Some codes I have added, grid layout I have added. So under JavaScript, what we are going to see now. Please remember, please install Visual Code Editor. Visual Code Editor, please install this software, Visual Studio Code Editor. It is available. I'll just share it here. Download Visual Studio Code. So this is the common thing that we all use. So you can download it from here. It might require some registration. Please go ahead and register. I'm sharing this link also in our group chat. Okay, in our group chat, I'm sharing this link as well. So this code editor is what I'll be using in all our session, whether it is Angular material or it supports Visual Studio Code Editor is available for Windows Ubuntu, like Red Hat, right, Mac. It's available for all. So please install it. Keep yourself ready for this. So from tomorrow onwards, we'll be more covering towards JavaScript, and slowly we'll integrate JavaScript with HTML. All those things we'll see. Methods we'll see. Methods of HTML we'll see once we get into the application. That's where you will really see the effectively you can see the methods that we perform on the HTML. Right now the redirections are done through anchor tag, a tag. Okay, so we start to understand the JavaScript is, we are starting from the basics. We are not assuming any knowledge before, but as I said, you may have to practice a lot to get more gain on that entire thing. So because we are talking about some 3 to 4 semester session in this 5 months, right? It is a 3 to 4 semester subject. The entire full stack development subject, if you take, it is around 3 to 4 semesters. And HTML itself is 1 semester you can take if you are really going as a web page designer, right? That's the stuff it is having, especially the CSS area. And SCSS area is the latest one. That is, it has a lot of advantages. We'll talk about that when we get into the Angular material side. Okay. So I'm expecting you to download the Visual Studio Code editor and expecting you to ensure that you have that editor ready when we are having the session running. Okay, now I'll just open the Visual Studio Code editor. I'll open a fresh editor for time being. You may be seeing a lot. So that is because it is opening the previous session of, I'll just go to some new window. I'll create a new project. I'll create a new project here, JavaScript as a project name. In the same folder, I'll create a new project, JavaScript. I'm not creating any node package or anything. I'm just going to give you one simple JavaScript as a project. Inside this, I'm opening this project here. In my Visual Studio Code, I'm open folder and I'm opening that project here, Upskill JavaScript project. So it is empty project. I just created a folder. I just added the project here. Okay, so I just added this. In this, I create a file called create a file. That file is a JS file, JavaScript 1.js file, just a JS file. JS files are readily executable files, right? You can execute directly all this JS file. So I'm just using a JS file here. So this, of course, we need a node because we are going to use the node package. So executing the JavaScript file also can be done through node as well. So it is JavaScripts are directly executable files. So browser can execute JavaScript files as well. Anyway, now, so for just understanding purpose, what are all we are going to learn, I'm just putting it here. Okay, so we are going to learn now simple variables. I'll just use variables starting with, then arrays, different types of arrays, JSON, very important, JSON, because JSON is the type of the object that will be using everywhere in most of your applications, REST API, everywhere will be using JSON. Some of the logic include In practice, they will give some examples of how you arrive at the logic. They will give lot of examples. So, when we are started learning it, practice session, they'll give a lot of logics to it. So we can use some logic that comes to my mind as I go. I will take some 2 or 3 logics that we may be using in our day-to-day things. Then we have ES6 scripting. ES6 standards, we call it as standards. This is a JavaScript standards. ES6 is the starting standard where the JavaScript got matured. Today, the ES6 level is EX20 or 21. That is the current ES6. ES is running. ES20 or ES21. So ES6 is the started where most of the functionalities has came into browser and all working. Most of them has came at ES6 level. So when I say 21, it supports from ES6 till 21. It supports all the standards of ES6. ES6 standards are, you can check it from internet. ES6. ES standards. So Wikipedia, it has all this ECMA scripting, right? It has all the history. This is the base for all our learning. So ES16, okay. So this is a JavaScript language. You can use this. We'll be using this, okay. This standards we'll be using in our coding. So ES6, you can see ES6 98%, ES7 newer is 2017 plus. That is the latest version that is available. So whether it is Firefox, Chrome, Safari, everybody supports that. This is a standard. This is a standard followed by most of the people. Okay. So you can list of ESMA script engines. You can see that if you want to see the list of the engines that is supported by this ESA script. That is a standard we will be following because that's a browser standard. ECSMA, right? ECMA scripting. Okay. So this is the ECMA. I can see the different types of ECMA script also. ECMA International ORG, Wikipedia, language specification. So this will give you all the objects, features, what all it supports. It is like learning a new language itself. Okay. So that is how it is. So this is ECMA scripting as well. So we will be starting this session tomorrow. So I just given the download path and what are all other things that we cover as part of this project. ECSA standards, then all whatever follows under that. In this there are map condition, there are queue, we'll develop some class, then methods, class methods, then set, get properties, high level languages, right? All this we see under the JavaScript basics. We'll see all this and then we'll proceed from here. We'll start and system standards also like new date function, date functions, right? And then number, math functions, square root, exponential, multiplication, then rounding off, ceiling, floor, all that. So all mathematical functions we'll see. These are all comes under JavaScript, right? So all this will cover it up under JavaScript. Then we'll take it forward in the higher side where we create one small project where we'll integrate with Angular material this JavaScript. That also we'll see. Again, lot of learning is required from your side. practice is required. Here we are running short of time. Always will be behind the time only. We will not be ahead of time. We'll be always behind the time because there are so many things to learn. So that is how it is. So some learnings are triggered by your need. You need that learning. So some things are triggered through that need. So it's based on that. Okay. So I end here. So they will be taking you through layout practice. So tomorrow onwards, we'll start this side of the coding. Thank you. Rajesh, you can disconnect the